I completed 116 days of the 75 Hard Challenge, and I lost 30 pounds in the first 75 days. Now, I used the principles that I learned on 75 Hard to go on to lose 70 pounds in 9 months. And then I started training for my first marathon, and in the process of doing that, lost an additional 16 pounds. So using the principles of 75 Hard, I was able to lose a total of about 90 pounds. So I definitely credit the principles of what I learned on 75 Hard with helping me with my weight management and training for my first marathon. So if you're interested in completing this challenge, I really want to see you succeed. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that you must do before starting 75 Hard. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is that 75 Hard is not a weight loss challenge and it's not a physical transformation challenge. And I know that I just started off this video by talking about my physical transformation, but in reality, 75 Hard is a discipline challenge. It is designed to build mental toughness. It is designed to force you to make daily life sacrifices in order to finish the challenge. And only once you finish the challenge do you actually reap the rewards of the challenge, because you've spent all that time building that discipline muscle, and then you can use that discipline in other areas of your life. Now, I mentioned that I finished 116 days of 75 Hard, but it wasn't my first attempt. Every other attempt that I made of 75 Hard, I approached it as a weight loss challenge. I would start 75 Hard with a weight loss goal, and here's what happened. I would get in 3 to 4 days and I would check the scale, and the scale hadn't moved enough for the effort that I thought that I had put in, and then I would simply quit. I will tell you that there are so many other ways to lose weight than with 75 Hard. It is just not the program to use if you're trying to lose weight. The effort is not worth the weight loss, if that makes any sense. And so the only time I was successful with 75 Hard and completing those 116 consecutive days, I decided to approach 75 Hard as the challenge that it is. It is a mental toughness challenge. It is designed to build discipline, and that is what I want. That is what I need, and that is what I'm going to do. Approach it as a discipline challenge. And only then was I successful at completing 75 Hard. And so you really have to set a goal, and your only goal should be completing 75 Hard, because again, you don't reap the rewards of 75 Hard unless you actually complete the challenge. And so your focus has to be, what does it take? What do I have to do in order to finish the task every single day in order to complete this challenge? And if you complete the challenge the way that it was designed to be completed, you didn't make any adjustments to the challenge, but you completed it as written, then the byproduct of completing that challenge could potentially be a physical transformation or even weight loss. I lost 30 pounds in those 75 days, but again, my focus was not weight loss. My focus was completing the challenge. And I looked up on day 75, and because I had followed the challenge the way that it was designed to be followed, I had actually lost 30 pounds. So set a goal to complete 75 Hard as it is written, because any adjustments to 75 Hard mean you're no longer following 75 Hard. Making adjustments to 75 Hard, say 75 medium or 75 soft, completely defeat the purpose of 75 Hard. And you really have to plan ahead on 75 Hard, because it is definitely a time management challenge. We all have the same 24 hours in a day to get things done, and you have to figure out how to appropriately manage your 24 hours in order to complete the 5 tasks every day. And if you've read the rules of 75 Hard, you know those tasks are: you have to eat a clean diet with no alcohol, no cheat meals. You have to complete 2 workouts a day. They have to be 45 minutes each, at least 3 hours apart, and one of them has to be outdoors. You have to drink a gallon of water a day. You have to take a progress photo every day, and you have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. And the premise of the challenge is that you complete all of these tasks every day for 75 days. And if you don't complete one of the tasks or you don't complete it as it's written, you have to start over again from day one. And so you really have to figure out how to manage your time so that you can get in your task. We all know that life happens and some things are beyond our control. But if you're following this challenge or your goal is to finish it without having to start over, then you have to figure out how to make it work even when life starts lifing. Now, one of the things that helped me complete 116 days on the challenge was that I got in a lot of my tasks first thing in the morning. By an hour and 15 minutes in my day, I had 3 of my tasks completed already. I just got up and got to it so that I had less to do and less to focus on over the course of the day. So definitely think about how you're going to manage your time and get in all these tasks every day. Sometimes you might even have to look beyond today or tomorrow and, look within the week or the following week. I was on travel for 3 full weeks during the course of my challenge, and I had to figure out, how am I going to get in my outdoor workout when I am on a 5 a.m. flight from the West Coast to the East Coast? How am I going to manage to stick to my clean eating diet when I'm having to eat out for 3 weeks? So it definitely takes some planning ahead, and it may require you to look a little longer into the future in order to plan if you want to successfully complete the challenge without having to start over. And with that, you have to really decide what life sacrifices you're willing to make on 75 Hard. I mentioned that I got a lot of my tasks done first thing in the morning. Well, one of the sacrifices that I had to make was that I could no longer cook breakfast for my family. That was something that I did. It was important to me, but more importantly, while on this challenge was me completing this challenge. And so I had to make the life sacrifice that I need to get up and I need to get to these challenge tasks in the morning. It means that I'm not going to be able to cook breakfast for my family. And guess what? I was not only able to complete the challenge 75 days, but a total of 116 days. And during that time, my family did not starve. They found a way to eat breakfast. And so I just say to you that the whole premise of 75 Hard requires you to say no. It requires you to have self-control. It requires you to build discipline. It requires you to make some hard choices, and it requires you to make some sacrifices. If you're going to be successful on this challenge, you really have to think about in advance, what are some of those things that you're willing to sacrifice in order to finish the challenge? You can't think about these things as you start the challenge and as they come up, because there may be certain things that you're just not willing to sacrifice, and now you've just wasted a whole lot of time. Plan ahead and think about those things before you start 75 Hard. What are some of the things or some of the people that you're willing to say no to in order to put yourself first and put this challenge first for the next 75 days? And just remember, on 75 Hard, you have to keep it simple. The challenge is hard enough as it is. And I'll see a lot of times people will say they're going to start 75 Hard, and then they start to put additional parameters on some of the tasks that make it even harder. And I'll give you an example with the diet. 75 Hard only requires that you follow a clean eating diet with no alcohol and no cheat meals. It doesn't dictate what type of diet that you follow. And I'll see a lot of times people will say, well, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, or I'm going to do keto, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And they box themselves into a more stricter diet than the challenge actually requires. So what happens when they have to eat out and can't eat keto? Or what happens when they get caught and have to eat something that's not within their eating window on intermittent fasting? Well, then they've technically failed the challenge. And so I just encourage you to keep the meal plan very simple. Now, I read the book by the challenge creator when I started 75 Hard, and I decided to count macros simply because the challenge creator said that's exactly what he did. But I followed a cleanish, mostly whole foods diet, and I eliminated processed sugar. I consider processed sugar things like cakes, candies, pies, ice cream as a cheat meal. And as you know, you can't have a cheat meal on 75 hard. So I actually eliminated sugar from my diet by considering it a cheat meal for the purposes of this diet, and I just didn't eat it. But what I did do was I counted macros and made sure that anything that I ate was within my macro limits for the day. Now, this allowed me to be very flexible. I could eat at home, which I mostly did, or I could eat out when I needed to, as long as I was eating mostly whole, mostly clean foods that fit within my macro targets for the day. And yes, I tracked everything that I ate on MyFitnessPal for the duration of the challenge. Now, a lot of people will ask me, what exactly did you eat on 75 hard? Because not only did I manage to lose a significant amount of weight, I also kicked a severe sugar addiction with 75 hard. So if you're interested in learning more about what I actually ate, the actual meal plan, click on the link in the video description and check that out. But I highly encourage you just to keep it simple when it comes to the meal plan. Don't box yourself into something that you cannot sustain for the 75 days. The same thing holds true for the workouts. Now, the challenge only requires you to complete 2 45-minute workouts per day. They have to be at least 3 hours apart, and one of the workouts has to be outdoors. It does not dictate what those workouts are to be, but a lot of people will start 75 hard and they'll try to do 2 cardio workouts a day, or they'll do cardio and strength training every day. They'll do something that's really high impact and really taxing on their bodies, and they'll try to do this twice a day for 75 days. That just simply does not work. It puts you on the fast track to burnout, and you will never finish the challenge that way. When I started 75 hard, I decided to take the simple route and to walk most of those workouts. Twice a day, I was either walking on my treadmill or I was walking outside somewhere, either around my neighborhood or around an airport parking lot or around a hotel parking lot. Walking is simple because you just need a good pair of walking shoes, and you can pretty much do it anywhere. Sometimes when I was commuting to the office, I would take my lunch break and just walk around the buildings around my office for 45 minutes to get in that outdoor workout. So it was really simple to do. It was very low impact. And again, I lost 30 pounds in 75 days, mostly walking. And so it was just as effective as doing any other type of exercise for the purposes of my physical transformation. And I'll give you a tip. For some of the workouts, I didn't even walk. I did stretching for 45 minutes. Again, 75 hard doesn't dictate what the movement is as long as you're moving. So I did some active recovery every week where one of those workouts was just stretching for 45 minutes. I would put on a stretching video and I would follow it for 45 minutes, just stretching out my body, recovering my muscles from these 2-a-day walks that I was doing. And yes, it still counted as the workout for that day because I was actually moving my body. So you have to be very smart, very strategic when you're following some of the tasks of 75 hard, because the challenge is hard enough in and of itself. You just simply don't want to overcomplicate it by putting additional parameters on the challenge that just aren't there. I have so many tips and tricks for you on how to actually complete 75 hard successfully. And I want you to be successful because, again, it changed my life. And I know that if you can finish the challenge the way that it was designed to be finished, it will change your life as well. If you're interested in learning more of those tips and tricks on how to complete 75 hard successfully, check out this next video.